Hi, I'm Julia.
And I'm Sue.
And welcome to A Whole Lot of Craft.
On today's episode, we'll catch up with the ladies and then do a short introduction to sewing. We'll give you our tips and tricks and maybe introduce a sew-along. Join us!
All right.
We're back!
We are. And,
Here we are!
Yes. We got lots of stuff to talk about today. I'm just going to get my paper out so I don't forget anything, but it looks like I can't even read what I wrote. Okay, so, you know what? It's our 4-year anniversary. It is. We've made
Confetti
it for
balloons.
4 years with this podcast. And I
That's
can't believe
awesome.
it. It's very exciting. So, yeah, so that's big news.
That is big news.
And we do want to share it with you. So I didn't tell Sue this, but I went while I was at home and I drew from our member list because you guys have stuck with us for a really long time now. And so I will be giving a pattern from my library to lucky member number 117.
Nice.
So you guys didn't know this either, but Annette Diane, who is Annette, will be the recipient of that pattern.
Awesome.
So please contact me and I will see which one you want and I'll send it out to you. So yeah, so bonus prize today.
Prize. And also, there's something else you did without talking to me, which is fun. Go ahead, go for it. I just all found out about it 2 minutes before you did.
Yeah, well, the Spicy Homemaker, who is another podcaster, has been doing a fun knitting game series over on her podcast, and she's invited over the course of a couple months different podcasters to be part of challenges. And so this month, I contacted her because she is putting up pictures of the little sheep that we wrapped a couple months back. And so one of the pictures that she's going to be posting, it's going to be either in her thread, the Spicy Homemaker thread, or the Sip and Stitch podcast thread. She's going to post all the pictures from the 9 different podcasters who are participating, and you guys get to go vote on which ones you like best. And the best part about it is the picture with the most votes gets a humongous prize for their listeners.
That's awesome.
So I figured Sue wouldn't mind if I got stuff to give you guys.
I so mind. I want stuff.
I know, it'd be nice to get stuff too.
No, it's so fun.
Yeah, so starting on May the 3rd and going through May the 15th, check out the threads in one of those 2 podcasts and vote for us. Hopefully you'll know which one we are because it looks familiar.
Yes.
And
exactly.
if we get the most votes, we'll be able to give you guys, one of you lucky viewers will get what looks like to be a really tremendous prize.
That's exciting.
So, I haven't seen it exactly, but the past couple prizes she's given away are very, very nice. So
cool.
yeah, so that's that.
Julia's always coming up with new stuff.
Yeah.
Anything else that I should know about?
I don't know. Do you know what we're doing?
See, it's so exciting. I don't know. What are we doing today?
Oh, goodness. Well, we've been talking about trying new different things, right?
Yes.
And sewing and homemade wardrobe has been I think it's making a huge comeback.
Yes.
And I used to sew all the time. When I was younger, I made my own prom dress in 10th grade. And,
Wow, that's amazing.
Things that I did when I was a kid, I'm like, why don't I do these things now? Because I bet my clothes would fit a lot better if I made them myself.
Right.
You know? So we thought we would get into sewing a little bit as, we're here in Sue's studio and she's got her machine right here ready to go. We would do some of that with you guys.
Yes. Yes.
So,
I'm not big into sewing clothes. I don't know why. I think I'm afraid of patterns. I've tried to follow some. And I tried to find my skirt, but I think I have it in another space. The first skirt I ever made, did I ever tell you the skirt
No.
I made? So I made a skirt, and I always pick the worst materials.
Yeah.
So I picked a fabric that was You know, this was back in the 90s. Remember when they used to have those skirts that when you washed them, you would then twirl them up and make them in a knot?
Like
and broomstick.
Yes,
Isn't it called broomstick?
broomstick skirts.
It was broomstick fabric, which you shouldn't use the first time because you have to get the grain the right way.
Okay.
So that was my first problem. My second problem is when you're folding it, you have to fold it enough times so that when you cut it, the piece is big enough. I didn't fold it enough times. So when I sewed the two sides together and before I put the waistband in, I pulled it over my head and it was a poncho.
Oh.
And I was so upset. I was like, I cannot be this big of a size. And then I realized that I had completely done it wrong. And I haven't done one since.
I'll just see if I can find my prom dress picture. I'm sure I have it somewhere. It was pink moire taffeta.
Wow.
This is totally 80s. But it was perfect. It worked very well for the time. But yeah, so we thought that we might do some stuff like that and get into a sew-along for
That's
the
exciting.
spring. But we'll talk more about that in a minute.
Yes.
Did you do anything this week while we were gone?
My big project
Yes.
is I put in a new patio.
Oh, nice.
Yes, my brother helped me. He was the brains behind it. I put one in years ago, and we ripped it out and then redid it because it was starting to get all wonky and too many weeds.
Okay.
So I did do that, and that was a lot of work. But it's exciting. It's almost done.
Cool.
So yeah. So that was my big project this week.
I gotta go out and see it.
And then I started putting together the necklace that
Oh, yeah.
the little flowers that I had last week. And so this is one iteration of it. I'm not sure. You know, I made these and then I was going to connect them in one big thing like I had in the picture last time. And then I decided to do this for a little bit.
I
And
think that's pretty.
we'll see.
I like it with those colors. I like orange and teal together.
Yeah, so we'll see. I still have a whole bag of these. So lots more different things to experiment with.
Cool.
So I did those. And I didn't get much further with these other than putting jump rings on the
Okay.
on them to
To start the process.
Yes. One step at a time.
Yeah, I know.
So anyway, but yeah, doing the patio took up. Oh, and I found this necklace today when I was cleaning.
Oh, fun.
So I finished it and I found this little charm. You know, and it's one of those, like you said, why don't I do this?
Yeah.
I've had this forever. I've
Yeah.
had this little thing. It was still in the package and I thought, why am I not wearing that?
Yeah.
So
that's nice.
anyway, so that's what I was.
Is it glass?
This is glass, yes. And this is hammered metal. It's just a choker that I did a little design.
I see. Neat.
So
just kind of cinches around your neck.
yes. So
Very
I think
cool.
I still have to rework it a little bit to make it fit a little flatter, but it's all good.
Yeah, it's nice. I finished up Miranda, and it was given and loved, and she's very happy with it. She's worn it twice already.
Nice.
Just to school.
And you only gave it to her 2 weeks ago, right?
22nd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So not even.
Yeah.
That was only
once a
6
week.
days ago.
Was it only? I don't even know anymore. But yeah, so she's very pleased with that, and
Awesome.
it fits her great. Fits her perfectly with a lot of growing room. So I think that'll be a good one. It'll be around for a while. So, and then I finished this finally. This is the third version of I decided to call it lateral thinking.
Nice.
Because you have to think outside the box to make it a little bit. So there's that. This is the irregular triangle version. And it used all but like that much of the skein.
Oh, wow.
So I wanted to get this done so that I could take the pictures and release the pattern. So thank you to the test knitters who helped me out. They had some really good things to say and some suggestions in the writing, which I appreciated. And so this will be out there. And I'm thinking if you guys are interested, we can do a knit along with this as well.
Nice.
So I finished these things, and then I've been working on a lot of like stuff that I've had lying around for a while, and I cast on 2 new projects just because. But I didn't bring them because none of them have enough stuff to show you. So.
And you made your earrings, right?
Oh yeah, I did. I forgot about that. I did make my earrings. So yeah, this was kind of, they were supposed to be blue, but I didn't have any blue, so I made them silver.
I like them.
This was like I have nothing to wear. Like you always talk about, you got 10 minutes before you have to go somewhere and no earrings to wear. So I made these like boom on the fly, and I think they turned out pretty good.
They did. I think they look professional.
Yeah. Thank you. So yeah, so there's those. It's amazing what happens when you actually have the right tools, and finally I think I'm getting enough stocked up that I can do something on the fly without being like, oh, I gotta go out and buy.
Right.
You know, so that's been kind of fun to.
So I think it's on to sewing.
Yeah.
So it's on to sewing.
So we, like I was saying before, we thought it would be fun to do, to make a skirt together, since I haven't sewed in like forever and you haven't done a lot of garments, that we kind of play around and each make a skirt. And with summertime coming, it's a nice opportunity to get something new to wear.
Mm-hmm.
And we would like to invite you guys to join us in a sew along.
Definitely.
And so today our main purpose is to do just some basic tips on how to get prepared. What do you need to get ready to do a sew along, if that's something that you so desire?
All right, so we'll come back and start talking about that.
Yep. So, sewing.
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 So. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about sewing for beginners.
Mhm.
A while ago we made a project bag, or
Yeah.
a library bag, sewing. So we're just going to talk about some general overview of sewing
Right.
for anyone who's a beginner. Do you want to start?
Yeah, I think probably one of the biggest things, well, first of all, if a sewing machine is easiest to do a larger project with. You can do it by hand. And for something that's got simple straight lines, that's not a big deal. I've made a couple project bags by hand, but it definitely takes a lot more time. If you have a machine, though, make sure it's maintained. Oil it, clean it out, make sure you have good parts.
Having a good sewing machine guy is so important. We have a really good sewing
Yeah.
machine guy here in our town.
I'm going to have to get mine. I haven't sewed on mine probably in 10 years, so I'm going to have to go get it taken care of before I try this.
Yeah, it's good to have it serviced once in a while. They open it up and take out their. Mine didn't work one time because there was so much lint inside the machine, and it stops it up.
Yeah, and just like, spinning wheel, you need to have good lubrication and everything oiled, and you don't want to overdo it because then your fabric might get greasy. So there's some things that, to have it properly maintained is a good idea.
And also on the subject of sewing machines, using new needles. I used to use my needles till they broke. Because that's what I thought you were supposed to do. But you're not. So when you get needles, they come in a package, and you can get the variety pack, and they're usually 9 through 16,
Something
I think.
like that.
And each one, the different gauges are for different types of things. I think 16 or 14 is like leather.
Okay.
Something like that, if I'm thinking of it correctly. And so in a book that I really like, Bend the Rules Sewing, she recommends putting a new needle on for each project.
Okay.
I don't necessarily do it for every new project, because it depends. If I'm making something small, I'm not going to put a new needle on. But if I'm sewing through a lot of layers of fabric, or I've been using it for a while, I will get a new needle. I generally use the right in the middle. I think it's 11.
Okay.
Is in for most of my projects.
I can't remember. I think I used the one, like I would go to the store and find the one that matched the fabric I was going to use.
Right.
And just buy that one.
All my needles are right there. You can open that drawer. I think.
Oh yeah, well those are
Those are
regular.
sewing beads.
Anyway.
They're in here somewhere. Here we go.
Okay.
Yes, so they're 9, 11, 14. This was a standard needles.
Yeah.
And then they usually tell you on the back, like a 9 or 11 is lightweight, medium is 11 or 14, and then heavy is 14, 16, or 18.
Okay.
So yeah, I usually use, I think, 11s because I like those. And that's kind of a good all-purpose number for most projects.
And then they also have specialty needles, like if you're working with a knit fabric, or because that's something that I've always shied away from. My mom's machine was really old and wonky, and you didn't want to do knits, so that's something that if I try it, I'm going to have to definitely make sure that I have the exact right stuff for knit fabrics so that you don't.
A walking foot is usually what helps with those.
Yeah.
With those.
Yeah.
So, what else?
Well, I think you want to have the appropriate space. You don't want to start something and then have to put it away and get it back out and put it away. If you're going to make a project, make sure you have the room to work with it, and if you need to leave it out, that you can do so. I always used to work in my parents' dining room. This is how long it's been. And I know I can't work in my current dining room, so I'm going to have to do a little figuring out before I set my project up.
Right.
Sue's lucky.
Thanks. I do. I go into the next space to spread my fabric out and cut it.
Yeah.
So, and along those lines, how you set up your space is really important. One of the tips that I learned along the way is to set up your sewing machine and your ironing board perpendicular to each other. Is that right? Perpendicular. So that way when you're sitting here sewing, and you have to remember if you're right-handed or left-handed.
Yeah.
But I have my sewing machine here, I have my ironing board here, so I sit here and then you just turn your chair to sew. And because, most ironing boards go up and down, I can make the ironing board low, so it's like a table. And then I just turn, iron, come back.
Yeah, because you're definitely going to be getting up and down, especially if you're using interfacing and stuff.
Yes.
And to iron your seams flat, correct?
Right. Yeah. Make sure that an iron is your friend. I do not iron clothes in general. I'm terrible at it. But when I sew, I iron so much.
Okay.
Because sewing your seams flat, sewing and cutting too. Cutting precisely helps you with your end product. You can fix, the great thing about sewing is you can always fix things by putting another seam in.
Okay.
Right? You do this and it's not the right angle, you just sew it again and cut the extra off. But having it cut precisely up front helps you get a better product in the end.
And you want to make sure that if you're using a pattern, when you cut, that you're putting all of your marks in. If you don't have a erasable pencil or pen or something that's water soluble, which is a nice thing to have, you can cut little notches that come out instead of going in, so that you're not ruining your...
That's what most patterns always used to come with.
Yeah,
they still do.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, but I think that the way we did it was we actually made an extra piece instead of like coloring it, or I think you were supposed to transfer the markings onto the back of your fabric or something like that, and we were never that sophisticated. So we, I would kind of put pins in from where my darts were supposed to be, and just cut the notches outwards instead of inwards, so that I could line them all up. But having those marked properly and making sure your fabric is pinned well together before you cut is a huge deal, because I've also had some where the notches come out like this, and then you're lining it up and it's not working.
Right. Right.
So yeah, the preciseness and the sharp scissors, like those things are all really important to do for your
Don't
prep.
let anyone use your fabric scissors on anything else. All of mine are labeled. Actually, that one's not. But mine say fabric on them, and I know a lot of people who, if children or husbands use them on paper, that's serious business. That's grounds for divorce. Because like a good pair of fabric shears is such a beautiful thing to have.
Now, do you think pinking shears are a better idea than regular scissors, or does it matter?
I don't know. My pinking shears are really heavy. Okay. So, and they don't open and close, and it maybe I need to oil them. So I get tired of cutting with these. So I rarely use pinking shears. I generally use fabric scissors.
But that would, if you have a fabric that tends to fray, that would be a nice idea.
That would be a good idea for like ticking or something like that. So
the other thing that I was going to say is, if you're using a pattern, obviously you want to buy one that fits you. If you're not using a pattern, finding a well-fitting garment to base your pattern on is very important. But it would be a good idea to have somebody take your measurements before you go to the store shopping for a pattern, because they do not line up with modern day clothing sizes. What I would wear in a shirt, or actually let me do, because we're doing skirts, what I would wear as a pair of pants from a store is about 4 sizes different than what the pattern size says. So I'm not sure if it's based on a different sizing system, or if they just label it differently, or what. But go by your measurements. Don't go by the number of the size. Okay. That's hugely important.
Yes.
Or you're going to end up with something that doesn't fit, and that's especially if you're buying a lot of fabric. Yeah, you don't want to do that.
Yeah. So should we talk a little bit about fabric?
Sure.
Because you need fabric to sew.
You do.
So there's all different kinds of fabric out there. If you're a beginner, we suggest basically cotton quilting fabric is the easiest. This is cotton. This is cotton. That one's a ticking fabric, and so it frays easily.
Yeah, and it's a little thicker.
So you have to be really careful with that. I would definitely, as a beginner, not use anything shiny or slippery, because it's hard to keep it together when you're sewing it, even if you pin it well. I've had that experience. I also wouldn't use anything stretchy.
Oh, yeah.
Because stretchy, also, again, it all moves, and you really need a walking foot. A walking foot is a specific kind of foot you put on that very slowly pulls the fabric through so that you get a better stitch. So, also, stay away from home deck fabrics. This is a home deck fabric. It's woven similar to the ticking.
It's much thicker.
It's thicker, and so if you make this into a skirt, for your little American Girl doll, you'll see that it's going to stick out more.
Yeah.
And it's really not made, you can.
But it's going to be much stiffer.
It's going to be stiffer. Some home dec fabrics don't launder well because most of them are dry clean only. I use home dec fabrics for bags, and so I will bring them home and I'll put them through the laundry. And if they don't stand up to it, well, then I'm not going to use it.
Right.
But you should always, always, always try and launder your fabric in hot water before you
wash
start
it first, so that any shrinking that needs to be done happens before you cut it out.
Right. Yeah, because that's a sad, sad thing when you wash it and it doesn't fit any longer. Should we talk a little bit about pattern?
Yeah. Stripes and directional patterns are going to be more difficult for a beginner.
So,
directional meaning...
So this has mushrooms on it. All the mushrooms are facing the same direction. Mm-hmm. So if you're cutting it and you're trying to save fabric, sometimes you'll flip your pattern around. But then what would happen is on the front, mushrooms might be up right side up, and on the back, they might be upside down. And that will look really funny when you wear it. So ideally, do something that has, I don't know if those are directional or not. Are the butterflies up?
I guess they're all going upwards. So even that one, even though it looks like it's a little more random, I guess maybe you could get away with it this way, but your butterflies would be flying upwards or downwards. Maybe if you did it sideways, it wouldn't matter so much.
But something like this, it doesn't matter which way you use this fabric because it has a consistent pattern.
Yeah, it's all crazy.
And so same thing with, let me see, are these guys all upwards or are they all crazy?
Smiling the same direction?
They are.
They are.
There's an up and a down. So really be aware of that. So I know the cutest things are like things like these mushrooms. They're so darn cute and tootin', but you'll be so frustrated if you buy this and then you end up with something that looks goofy because you needed to have direction. Right. Same thing with, you said the stripes. Too.
Yes.
And matching them
up.
up.
Match them up.
And getting them to go in the right direction.
Yeah, the same color and the same... You know, you don't want to have, like with this one, you've got different shades of green. You don't want to have the dark green with the light green stripe or, you know, something like that might look a little odd. This one, though, is a nice example of something that's multi-directional. It's got flowers going both ways. So you could use this. It would be a little bit easier. Mm-hmm. However, this one is lighter weight, you said.
Yeah, this is really light. I can see through it. I can see the camera through it.
So you probably would want to use a lining with that, which is an extra step.
Right. Or you're going to have to know that you're going to have to wear a slip with this or leggings or something because this one's really see-through.
Yes.
So you really want to think about your fabric when you pick it. The other thing to keep in mind is if this is your first or even your second project, go with something inexpensive. There's a really good chance you're going to mess it up. Really good chance, but fabric, the price of fabric can be on the sale table. You can get it for $2 a yard.
Yeah.
Up to home dec fabrics can be $50 a yard. You know, average price I'd say is $8 or $9 a yard. But you could go to Joann. You can go to Hobby Lobby with your 40% off coupon. You can get an $8.99 fabric. Get it 40% off. You're paying like $4 or $5 a yard. And I would stick in that price range because you could spend $25, $30 on fabric, and especially if you end up with something like this and then you cut it in the wrong direction, you can't make a skirt out of it.
Right.
You could be some other project. So the first few times that you do it, I would stick with something that's within your budget, and maybe your budget is higher than that. But that way you don't feel so bad if you accidentally just cut it wrong and you're like, well, this isn't going to be a skirt anymore. It's going to be a library bag. Yet another one.
So we're going to post some links to some sites that we like, both for ones that have good ideas on sewing tips and tricks, and also some free patterns. There's a couple of designers out there who have produced digital sewing patterns that you could buy and download, or you can go to your local Joann's and there's lots and lots and lots of patterns to choose from. I think that's an easier way to go because everything is already printed, and then you don't have to worry about, you know, if your printer prints something the wrong ratio or something like that. Otherwise, you can we'll link a couple of sites that teach you how to do a skirt from just another skirt.
Right. And I mean, you can use your own, and that's one of the great things about sewing. It is easy to undo.
Yeah,
unlike knitting or jewelry making, a lot of times you have to take that back apart if you mess it up.
Like I am
with
right now.
Knitting, with sewing, if it's just a little bit too big, you put another seam in and you
Right.
make it smaller. Or if it's too small, you can take the seam out and sometimes you can fix it.
Right.
But, you know, I made lots of things using my own pattern. And if you do make your own pattern, I highly suggest that you make it out of paper, because at some point you're going to want to go back and you're going to say, how did I make that?
Yeah.
So this was the first coffee cup I made because I had dumped coffee everywhere one day. And I made this just based on that little, and I put this little thing on it because
That's
it's
neat,
when I
yeah.
had little kids. And I'm trying to hold all these things. That's what I did. I came home with a cup of coffee. I was holding it like this, and something happened, and I was trying to stop it, and I squeezed the cup because I was so anxious, and it burst everywhere.
Oh no.
Anyway, but I made this based on the little sleeve,
Yes.
those little cardboard sleeves that go around coffee cups. And, you know, this is actually a, I cannot remember the designer. I'll have to look it up. This is an apron, and I have the pattern to it somewhere. I haven't come across it lately, but I wanted to make one for my daughter, so I just used my my apron that someone had made for me, and I made one for my daughter, and I just modified it. I made the bodice a little smaller this way and this way, but you know, don't be afraid to strike out on your own and try your own patterns.
Yeah.
And try, you know, if you have something that fits you really well, that's a great way to get a pattern from it. Just remember to make sure you leave seam allowances on the either side.
Yes.
Room to stitch and fold it under and iron.
That's what I'm going to be doing. I'll be taking one of my own skirts and kind of creating something from that. And chances are, because I admit I don't tend to do things always the right way, that I won't be making a paper pattern. I'll probably just lie it out and trace around it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be buying myself one of those nice water-soluble pens. And then just, you know, make a general shape and kind of go from there. I'm only going to do a super simple skirt with elastic waistband. So if you guys are in that camp, please feel free to join me in the super simple project. But, you know, it's a nice way to start too. You don't have to do all the individual piecing. You don't have to do a waistband and pockets and all that for your first try. You can just do...
And a zipper. Zippers can be really scare people.
Right. Just, you know, start simple if that's what you're feeling like. But we would welcome you guys to join with us, and we'll start a thread just so that people can start posting fabrics and pattern ideas and talking it up if you guys want to.
Definitely.
Mhm.
Definitely. But we will definitely have some links for you to go to, and that way you can pick which pattern you want to use, whether it's making it from your own skirt, going out and buying one, or something that someone else has posted online.
Yep. And check out your local stores too, the Joann's and all those. They usually have some nice selections of patterns, like we said, but also salespeople who, some of them are pretty well versed in being able to help you choose a fabric and choose a good pattern.
Definitely. I think, does Walmart still sell patterns? I think they have a very small collection, maybe.
I'm not sure anymore. Some stores do, but they were...
Yeah, a lot of them took their craft departments out, but I want to say ours might still sell some patterns. So if you're living in a remote area where, you know, Joann's is not around the corner,
That's a nice idea too.
It's an idea as well.
And you can buy fabrics online. I'm sure there are different vendors out there where you can buy that.
You can buy it from Joann. You can buy it from Hancock of Paducah or that sort of thing.
So there's some general places to start you out. And I hope you guys are excited. I'm excited.
Yes.
I'm going to get back into this.
Yes.
Handmade wardrobe.
Can't wait to see what everybody's going to be making.
Yeah. All right, so I think that's it for us for today.
Mm-hmm.
So we will see you guys again soon.
Thanks for joining us once again for a whole lot of craft.
Enjoy your crafting time.
See you soon.
Bye.